Merry Christmas and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I'm tackling another holiday classic. Last year, I reviewed, as part of my holiday classics little collection, I reviewed the original Miracle on 34th Street with Edmund Gwenn, who is still to date the only person who's ever been nominated for an Academy Award for playing Santa Claus. And this is the remake in 1994, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. This is the one that I saw first because it was my childhood with Richard Attenborough. So I have more of that connection to this film. It's not quite, it's not like the top tier of my Christmas movies, but I have seen this film enough over the years. But it is funny, like having seen the original Miracle on 34th Street and then coming back to this. And as I get older, it's easier to appreciate older movies too. And the first film is clearly better. Like, there are choices that they make in this movie that make it different. So it's a swing in certain places where it's a little bit different, obviously, because it's set in 1994. Things have changed, times are a little bit different. Even the toys that children were playing with in 1994 were different. So I mean, everything was updated. It's not a film that takes place in the past. So it's very much of its moment. Um, but we've got, in addition to Richard Attenborough playing Santa, we have Dylan McDermott, Elizabeth Perkins, and Mara Wilson sort of playing the core characters here. J.T. Walsh is also in this. Um, but yeah, it's pretty much it's those three. Perkins is, the one who works for the store, which has like a new name, which is really funny because I rewatching this film now, it's something Coles, and I was thinking how they changed that around, and I don't think like Coles as a store was around in 1994, but it's funny how Coles is a store now. It's like JC Coles or something like that. So it's funny how now there is a store called Kohl's, but Kohl's is the store that is the fake store because they can't use Macy's or don't want to use Macy's or didn't want to pay to use Macy's or whatever. So instead, it's the Kohl's Thanksgiving Day Parade, or with Santa at the end instead of Macy's. That like a million people have showed up to see this store that nobody's ever heard of. Um, and I just found that amusing that now there is something. It would be almost like if you watched a movie from the 80s and they went to a burger place called Five Guys, and then you're like, wait a minute, there is a burger place called Five Guys, but was there in the 80s? Because I don't think so. And you're like, wait a minute. Um, and it's not like Cole's got his name from Miracle on 34th Street remake either. So it's just one of those weird happenstance things that you just look at and you go, oh, huh, that's interesting. Um, Mara Wilson here is too adorable to exist. Uh, she's too adorable to be alive. I think her adorableness. This is why we don't have Mara Wilson anymore. Actually, after this, she goes ahead and makes Matilda and Simple Wish and some other movies, and then quits. But um, yeah, she's incredibly precocious here, possibly more so than she was in Mrs. Doubtfire. So, which she actually made before this. Here, she's given like way more to do, tons of dialogue, and it's just like adorable. Now, it's funny to say that now and realize she's like a fully grown adult and could click on this and be like, he's calling me adorable, and it's like I'm calling 1994 you adorable. Okay, just calm down. She's also younger than me because I definitely was not this age in 1994. So, but yeah, it's I mean, there are moments in this too with the audio description that I really remember, like the pulling of the beard. I always remember Richard Attenborough had such great expression in that moment too. He was using that thing that made him sort of like warm and fuzzy, for the sort of like revamped version of of his character in Jurassic Park, that sort of he uses that like grandfatherly thing about him that he has, sort of the intangibility. Ooh, this guy's a nice guy, you know. This, oh, we like this guy, and he uses that to great effect in Santa Claus. And he's the reason why I really like this Miracle on 34th Street probably the most, is because I think Richard Attenborough does a really nice job um, in this film. Also, I've never really noticed before, but this is a John Hughes production. It's not directed by John Hughes, but this is under his collection of films, which I find to be really interesting. It doesn't have that same sort of vibe to it, but you know, he also produced Home Alone, so he was. This is not too far removed from the Home Alone movies. But he probably jumped into this when he didn't make a Home Alone 3, you know? Somebody else made that Home Alone 3 with Alex D. Linz. But it, this is, it's fine. It's not the original, but I think it's a perfectly watchable movie. They make some choices. I think Elizabeth Perkins and Dylan McDermott both do nice work. Whether or not it is the same as the original, that's debatable, you know. But I do think, even though Edmund Gwenn was nominated for Santa for an Oscar, I don't think that there's any real reason why Richard Attenborough couldn't have been if the Oscars had been more imaginative. There's nothing really about his performance here that is worse than what Edmund Gwenn did, or better, by the way. I think they're both equally great in the roles, and Attenborough is the reason to watch this. It's sort of like, um, what I'll say to add to that is there's a version of 12 Angry Men starring Jack Lemmon that not many people are familiar with or have seen. Henry Fonda is fantastic in 12 Angry Men, and that's like a classic. But Jack Lemmon's a great actor, and put him in the same role, and it's still really I mean, he does a great job with it. So if that remake of 12 Angry Men with Jack Lemmon had gone anywhere other than TV, I think it was like a HBO or Showtime original or something like that. Um, if it had gone to the theaters, there's no reason why Jack Lemmon couldn't have gotten an actor nomination for that. So you can look at it as just being like a retread or like an easy or like a layup, but it's also sort of taking away from the excellence of Oscar nominee, a cat, you know, I mean, Jack Lemmon, who has been all over cinema. So yeah, I mean, this is Richard Attenborough. This isn't just some like random dude. Uh, he's doing really nice work here. So, Sir Richard Attenborough. I'm sorry, uh, I'm American. Anyway, audio description is fine, but yeah, I'm not gonna try to. I can't Desert Island every single movie from my childhood. Um, so it's not. I have to acknowledge the fact that as a as a as a completed work, even though the nostalgia is tied more to this, I think the original is better, obviously. But I don't think that this is like a complete waste of your time either. So I'm gonna give Miracle on 34th Street, the 1994 version, a B plus. I think if you haven't seen it before, uh, like at least for the sake of Attenborough and Mara Wilson, you should watch it. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.